Okay, I finished my second designer line here on these two pockets. So now I'm ready to do my overlock. So what I did was I got out my manual and I went to my overcasting stitches to see what would be the best choice for me to use. On thick fabrics, it tells me to use the number 12 or 13 on my machine. So I went to, let me see if you can see what I've got there. Okay, here's 12. And that just looks like a zigzag to me. But over here it tells me to use the G foot. And then this one is number 13, which is basically the same kind of overlock you get out of a store-bought item. But it's also telling me to use my G foot, so I'm taking out my G foot. I'm changing my pressure foot. And I am going to overlock the top of this because I don't want to go twice on these doll clothes. It's just too thick. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to line that piece of fabric up against the metal bar on my G foot. And I'm just going to use the factory setting and just sew. Boy, that is a really dense stitch, so I don't have to worry about any fraying, but it's taking forever. That might be just a little too much for these little pockets. I don't think you're going to need that much. Oh my goodness, no. Anyway, that's the kind of stitch that you'll see out of a store-bought outfit. It's really close together. I kind of wonder if I can, well, I've already done one that way, so I'm going to do the other one. So I'll do the other one with the same stitch. And then one thing I noticed on this pair of pants that I'm using, they turned in their, they turned it under and then they did the sides. Do you see how they have that on the side? I guess, you know, there's advantage to that because then you don't see any sewing on the side. And you'd have to actually look up into the pocket to see the top of that stitch. So that is probably your best option if you want to do it that way. I don't do it that way because then this have a tendency to fray if you don't catch that in your sewing. You know, I'm still going to stick with my preference. This is still my preference to sew this way. That's just me, but I guess it's whatever you want to do. Okay, anyway, I've got my iron heating up. Let me get my ironing board here, and I'll do the other pocket later. Okay, so this is the one I'm using here, and I'm going to use my Heat and Bond. The Heat and Bond says to use a, there's no way this thing's going to fray. Look how thick that stitching is. It says to use a silk setting. If you don't have this, you can use the Wonder Under or whatever, but it's just so much easier to get your pockets all ready to go before you stitch them on the back of your pants, because it's just so you don't have to worry about trying to turn and sew at the same time. So go ahead and cut off your piece of, you can use this thickness or whatever thickness you want to use. I'm going to use the thickness of this Heat and Bond, but if it's too thick for you, just trim it down to what you want it to be. But I made my pocket extra big so that I can use that same thickness. I don't want these pockets too big because I'm putting them on shorts, not pants. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that down there. Let me see if you can see in the Let me go over a little bit. Okay, so go ahead and put that in. Turn it under. I don't want it to, that is a little too thick for pockets. I'm going to trim it down a little bit. It's just too thick. I thought I wanted that much, but I don't. So I'm going to cut it down. Okay, so then take your iron. Like I said, it said to set it at silk, but we'll see if silk works on this denim. Let me see if I can move the camera back so you can see better. Okay, it's sticking. Okay, so there's your one side. Let me get the other one. I gotta cut them all to be the right width. It doesn't matter if you don't get them all bonded with this stuff, because you're going to sew it down too. This is just like a temporary thing to help you get it on your pants without having to fight with pins and everything. Okay, so there's this one now. So the silk setting seems to be the right setting even on the denim. Okay, a couple more. My friend Marie up in Washington, she told me about a product called Steam and Heat, or Heat and Steam, or Steam to Seam, something like that. And I had never purchased it, but I kind of have a feeling that this is what is exactly pretty much what she was talking about. Okay, so you're still going to have that little bump there where you're making an extra. I'm going to put a seam in there so I can fit that bond right in there. But I wanted to get that crease so I know exactly where I want that. Probably can't see because I'm right-handed. Okay, so there's that one. So we're on our last one now. So I'm going to turn that up, put a little crease in it so I can get a little piece of that heat and bond in there. I'm trying to stay away from the metallic thread. I don't think it would melt, but I don't want to take any chances. So doesn't want to stay. Okay, I might have to put a little more piece down in there. Okay, two sides, the two bottoms. Now I'm going to do the top. Now on the top I want to try and get these in a little bit. Curve them in just a wee bit so they don't show so much on the side. So now bend down. I'm going to line this up to the seam line of that decorative stitching. That way I'll know when I do the other one exactly where to line up the other one. Okay, let me cut a piece here. Okay, this one doesn't want to stick for some reason. Probably all that overlock stitching. Okay, there you go. That is your designer pocket. Now when you go to do your stitching on your pants, you can do 2 lines right next to each other. You're going to do one really close to the edge here, and then you're going to go like a 1/16 of an inch and do your second line of stitching. And you can, if you want, to do a stitch across here, but you really don't need to, because by the time you get your side seams in and that overlock, it's going to stay tight on the pair of pants. You don't have to worry about it. But anyway, that's one way to make easy designer pockets on your doll clothes. Okay, so I'll see you guys later. Have a good evening.